As a startup, you can achieve so much more with a remote team of freelancers, even if your budget is quite limited. For that to work well, you need a clear communication with clear goals. You have to make sure they are motivated and don't feel excluded. To help you with managing a remote team effectively, I interviewed a founder of an AI tool, Elena Zangeeva, who has over 12 years of experience with managing international teams. She was active in Bumble and Boston Consulting Group, and she will share her valuable lessons with you. Before we dive into that interview, I will summarize the most important learnings from that. If you work in an office, you interact with your team members automatically. Maybe in a break room, maybe you're taking a coffee and you get to talk with them and you find out certain things about the process, problems, and so on. But with remote teams, you don't have these options. So you rely only on communication and you have to do the communication effectively and efficiently. Don't overdo meetings. Instead, try to prioritize asynchronous communication. For example, you can write Slack messages, send a Loom video, and create Notion pages or tasks in project management tools like ClickUp or Asana. And that makes it easier to really communicate well because, you need some structure with meetings. They can waste a lot of time of all the participants. And it's also can be demotivating if it's not effectively used. Don't use meetings for updates. Instead, use meetings for connecting with the freelancer. Or if you want to brainstorm about certain strategy, about certain ideas, then meeting can be good. With remote freelancers and team members, the clarity of goals is very, very important. Your freelancers need to understand what success looks like. You might think it's obvious, but for them, it might be not obvious. And you have to clarify that. Which kind of goals, which kind of KPIs do you have? As concrete as possible. Which kind of deliveries do you expect? And who is responsible for what? And what are the deadlines and priorities? All of those things are essential for great results. And if there's information missing, your team members might not be able to fill out the blanks, but they might freeze and not sure what to do. At the same time, micromanagement can be perceived as lack of trust. So it's not about how active a freelancer is and how much he has been working. It's more about results. It's more about achieving goals and KPIs. And last but not least, don't forget to connect with your team members on a human level, on an emotional level. They are not machines. They need to be connected on a personal level. They need to be respected. And good ways are, for example, you can create some games with teams and do it on a regular basis so that it's not only interaction when there is a problem or something work-related, but also just for fun. Another good idea is to have one-on-one calls where it's all about personal life, motivation, well-being. You can also create channels on Slack, for example, to communicate about random stuff about personal lives, hobbies, just to build this personal connection with your team members. And now we are going to dive deeper into this topic in the interview with Elena.
So basically, it's about how to motivate people in the long-term freelancers or employees in the remote setup. First of all, usually when I join the team, I'm trying to understand why these people are there. You run a diagnostics, literally like any doctor. First, you need to understand what is the real problem behind this underperformance, right? And usually I ask simple questions. I set up short calls with everyone in the team. I ask first, organizational questions: who you are, what is your role, how long are you in the organization, and what is your main focus area. Second, why are you here? What do you like particularly about this company or about these projects? Second one is about what do you like to change or what doesn't work. Then the third question is, where do you see yourself in 6 months or in 1 year? How we can, because in a small organization scale, 6 months is already pretty long period of time. Where do you see yourself and how we can help you to get there? If you have any role models to understand what kind of things people actually value in different human beings and why, and if there are anything else they want to add. It's like literally 5 questions and for 15 to 20 minutes call and give you so much insights. The first question show your strengths as an organization. So some of them, oh, I really love the product. So maybe you have to focus on that one, or the mission of the company. Second one is the team usually, or that there is no bureaucracy, that you make things fast and execute fast. Some of them also could be like more about the culture, etc. But culture is coming from the team. If you ask about what would you like to improve, maybe there is the problems. People usually say we have a lack of transparency in the decision making, or I feel isolated because they never involve me in decision making, and some things are coming from top down. They could be different. So you can actually address these points. And usually it's super simple that it could be fixed in literally 1 week. Next question really helps us to understand if the person has a long-term plans to stay with us, like for this next 6-12 months. And if you can see like, okay, this is not matching with the job that this person is doing. If the person, for example, is engineer and wants to move to product, and we have these resources to help people to reskill and go to the product side, okay, probably it could be tangible and we can make it. However, if we don't, probably this person will not be motivated to continue to work as an engineer. Maybe the person wants to be a product, and maybe it's better to say goodbye, And another thing is also help you to understand if this is really worth to invest in this talent, because talent in general is very expensive. Any recruiting mistake, any onboarding mistake is super expensive for the business, and making sure you have the right team on board is very important task for any leader. If the person is not planning to be with you in the next 6 to 12 months, but maybe better also to separate, to break up from that point. Another one about the role models, I really like this question, to understand what kind of people inspire them and why, to understand what they value. Honesty or the growth or both. And if these values are matching with yours, it's going to be easier, because you can find the best and the best super qualified person. But if this person is not sharing same values as you will never be able to build long-term productive relationships here. This question really help you to understand, okay, to diagnose what is the problem and address them immediately. So if you see there is a team is underperforming, I would start with the diagnostics, and then to address, make a little summary and to see what we can do here.
It's interesting. I think many people, they focus so much on the skills and the experience and what the employee or team member can do, but on those soft things, kind of their values, for example, people maybe overlook, but they play such an important role.
Yeah, 100%. Because also another thing, if you will look from the professional perspective, from the talent perspective, people don't leave companies. People leave other people. If you have a bad manager, the probability that he quit in the next year is 70%. No matter how great the organization is, people really important. And if you make a mistake with hiring a bad manager, it will cost you even more if you hire a bad individual contributor. So another thing is very important, that we hire people for skills, but we fire them for their personalities. And we promote them for their personalities. It's not a secret. As you can see, you can be extremely talented, extremely qualified, but if it's really hard to work with you, there will be no way you're gonna get along in this organization. For example, with doctors, it's a really, really great example, because in more technical professions, like the lack of emotional intelligence, I really love this tech talk. They ask, doctors have to deliver sometimes very bad news. You can make it mechanically, saying, okay, we check this one, sorry, you have to leave next to 3 months, and then, so this is the one way. Or you can make it more to understand from the person, perspective. How do they feel about this one? What would they like to do next about this news, and it completely change. Also, I really like about the communication and the soft skills. Sometimes people come with problem and they want to talk, and it's a very good question to ask. Do you want me to provide you a solution for this problem? Or do you want me to hear you, to listen to you, and like give you a hug? Basically, this is like two different approaches. Sometimes people, they don't need a solution, they just need to be heard. That's it.
That's so good. Yeah. I talked recently about that, how important it is not to give your advice all the time. And it's not only for managers, it's for everyone in personal life as well.
Yeah, this is just a like basic human emotional support that we just need. Sometimes we don't need practical advice. Sometimes we just need to be heard and say, yeah, I agree with you. I feel you. They're really bad. You're amazing. You're gonna do great, etc., etc. So you don't need a solution.
Have you discovered bad managers as the cause of the problems?
100%. Especially when you do this exercise, people, they tend to say, okay, I don't feel that the manager really support me, or I don't feel they're really transparent in their decision making, or they're not doing this, or I don't feel like I'm growing in that organization, etc. So, there are issues that you can address. Just listen. I really love to repeat this. It's very, very expensive to the business to have a bad manager, because you lose entire team under the bad manager. Even the great performance underperform under the bad manager.
My friend has a client and they have narcissistic managers. It's so difficult to work with those people because they are invisible a little bit for the boss, because they are really nice to the boss, but to their clients, to their freelancers, to their team members, they are really so toxic. And yeah, I can imagine how difficult it is. And I think for many startup founders, they don't have so many layers. So it's a bit easier for them, but they might even do the mistakes themselves and they don't realize that. But if they heard from several voices that the people don't like how they behave in certain ways, then it's probably possible to change, because sometimes you are yourself and for you, it's normal, your behavior. But for others, it's not so optimal. I guess it's not always the case that the companies fire the bad boss, but sometimes probably they also try to fix those issues. How is it?
I was thinking you say this is a big problem when you are a bad boss.
Yes, I mean, it's not always because you are a bad person. Sometimes it's just because you are inexperienced, and maybe you are very good in development, in solo works, but suddenly you have to go outside of your comfort zone and be the leader, and you are new to that. So
yeah, 100%. It's a skill. First of all, big organizations, they have entire departments whose job is like HR, like why people need HR, who's gonna hire these people, who's gonna onboard these people, who's gonna train these people, develop them, etc., etc. Big organizations, they have like separate teams whose job is to train new managers, because it's very important to develop those skills, how to provide a feedback, how to reflect, how to listen, how to do performance review, how to evaluate, how to assess, how to lead, basically, how to communicate. Because in the end, the job of the founder is not only about, basically, the focus of the founder or any like CEO of the business is to find resources. It could be any resources, like either the clients, the investment, or a talent, and provide them, and to communicate the vision that everyone on board has same goal. They understand the goal. Why are we doing this? To do what? So basically, give a vision and provide resources. That's it. It's all about communication. When you're providing resources and you're hiring people, you need resources. People in the end, it's like, sorry to say that this way, but human resources, like you need talents to deliver the product that your client is going to buy. This is very important to understand. You said sometimes you can hear that something is wrong, but the point is that to be able to hear is not only about listen, but to hear what people say and reflect on it is also a skill. Not everyone has it. Like maybe some people very egoistic, narcissistic, and they're not able to accept that, I'm doing something wrong, actually. And also in the cultures where a very long distance of power, where you cannot say anything to your boss. Because, for example, in most of the Asian cultures, people will never say that something is wrong. In Japan, people will never say that they are bothered by something. I really like, there's a new series on Netflix, Blue Eye Samurai. One of the characters they don't say, could you please make a soup? They say, it would be so lovely to have a soup now. And you have to guess, while in Western cultures, you usually say directly, can you make a soup? But imagine if you go to any Asian country, people will say, it is a little bit cold now. It would be nice to have a jacket. So it is your responsibility to understand that you have to give a jacket to this person. So it's not a responsibility of another person to communicate it directly. It's your responsibility to understand this person.
Wow.
So ability to listen and reflect, to understand those signals is, especially from people like when you have a freelancer from all over the world, it is very, very important. I really recommend to read a book, The Culture Map from Erin Meyer. She's professor in INSEAD, and she's training a lot of organization executives on how to work in a cross-cultural environments. For example, when you first either you deliver in global product, you work with different clients, or you have a team in different countries, or you put an assignment. For example, you're from Germany and you've been sent to Brazil, where you're going to be really difficult to find an approach. Even if you were a great boss, a great leader in your environment, or in your culture or your country, doesn't mean you're going to be successful in another environment.
So the first step for the founder could be to talk to their freelancers team members, or maybe let someone talk so that they are more open. Probably, how can you achieve that they are more open and not afraid to lose the job and just trying to tell you what you think?
Depends on the culture at your company, because in my experience, when I was working in international scale up, we had a blame-free culture. What does it mean? If something going wrong and someone made a mistake, we don't blame this person. So they were not afraid to admit the mistakes or afraid to talk about them. It's coming from leadership. It's not coming from HR. It's coming from you. So if every time you explode, saying how bad things are, people will be, next time they will think twice about if they have to say it, or admit something. First of all, start with you, with yourself.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, because it's one step before that. When you already hire people, you have to explain that it's okay to make mistakes. It's actually good to make mistakes, but which means you are doing something, you are risking something, you are trying something new.
Yeah, and also it's your behavior, because values, it's a beautiful word. A lot of companies, our values are, our values that, but in the end, no one follows them. The point is that values is all about your behavior, what you tolerate and what do not tolerate. For example, someone made a mistake. If you don't tolerate mistakes, next time people will just hide them. They will not say you anything. Or if you're working on it, and you prefer the coaching part, etc., people are more open and you build relationships and trust. If there is no trust, nobody gonna tell you what's going on. They will just quit quietly.
Yes.
Also, being able to be open to listen and to understand another person. However, there is another balance. There are just people who's very difficult to work with, and what kind of behavior you also tolerate. If someone just not performing and don't do anything and just creating toxic environment, it's better just do not tolerate this person as well and say goodbye. But explain why it happened to the rest of the team, and don't make things worse. If you do it quietly and not transparent, etc., and people will think about, what happened. The point is, in a remote setup, you have to communicate even more, because when you're in the same room, by the way, offices doesn't mean that you feel less isolated or less lonely. Unfortunately, this world, we are very connected, but we are very lonely at the same time. However, in the room, you can read the room. You can see how people, their face, their expressions, their gestures. While in the remote setup, you can just read the text in the Slack, or Teams, or any tool that you use. That's it. It's very difficult. That's why it's very important to even over communicate and over deliver this, and to make sure that everyone understands.
What do you think could be the common problems with smaller companies, with smaller startups? From your experience, from the answers you've read, what could be applicable for startups that we didn't mention before?
In the smaller organizations, the impact of each person is higher. Because, for example, if you have a team of 3 or 5 or 10 people, every person is crucial.
Yes.
And they can either slow you down or stop completely, or good thing if it just slow down. While in the bigger organization, if companies do layoffs, constantly, as you can see in the news, and
Yes.
companies still make money. They don't stop to exist, While in the startups or scale-ups or small organizations, if you remove one key person, you literally can disappear as a business.
Yes.
So it's very, very important what kind of people you have. And I think that first 100 people, the founder has to hire by themselves, interview every person to ensure that they share same vision and share the same values as you. And they're ready to be on board and to move forward because they're building the core. I saw some organizations where they didn't pay much attention to the core of the team. I will not say the name because it's a very famous company and took for them 12 years to break even because the core was very weak. The weak core cannot attract strong talent because under the bad leader, great talent will never go because they have plenty of other options. First of all, like recently I was chatting with one scale up. They raised like 70 millions and they hiring. And the first thing he asked me, how can I attract the best engineers? I was like, hire the best CTO. Then you're going to attract great engineers. Because if you hire bad CTO, great engineers either will not join or if they join, they quit.
What do you think are the signs of a good leader and how can we improve ourselves to become good leaders?
Well, learning, you have to learn every day. Talk to people who are great leaders already. For example, recently I was a little bit stuck with like our GTM, etc. And I was like, okay, because I'm the first time entrepreneur. Before I was working in human resources, I can do human resources and talent management very quickly. For me, it's not a problem because I was doing that every day for 12 years and I can consult people on that. But I never done GTM, go-to-market strategies. I never did fundraising. So you have to talk to people who already done it. So I'm just identifying people who built already great GTM, who attract funds, who did sales function, etc. So I'm talking to these people to understand, okay, how I should do that. So same with the leader. Find someone who already had a great team and talk to this person. People love to give advices. People love to feel important and interesting and smart. And they are very happy to share.
What were the common complaints that you read on your questionnaires?
It's so random sometimes. I really enjoy. There are two types of things. The first one is always this lack of transparency. People, when they don't understand why we make this decision, you have to explain that. And the second one is never salary, by the way. A lot of people think as a material thing, but it's never salary. It's about all the people and about communication. And one time it was super ridiculous. Where people were like, "Oh, why we have only one type of tea in the office? We want more. Or can we have some free food?" I was like, "Really? Like you can't imagine the power of the free food." For me, it's always fascinating to see that. I was like, wow, people are so easy sometimes. They just give a party, just give a food and free food, and everybody's happy. And if you go any event, if you notice, like the first thing people complain is about food. They don't care about the content. They complain about the food.
I've heard it for developers. Good coffee, that's the most important thing. Soft things, of course.
Yeah, I was like, for me, it was like when I was reading the surveys, I was like, wow, really? This is the. But maybe it's a first world problem, of course. If your other needs are closed, then you can take care about like basic things.
Yeah, for the bigger things like salary, they wouldn't even take your job if it's not on the range that they expect.
Not always. Sometimes we want offers, cross offers. Like, what does it mean, cross offer? When the candidate have several offers from different companies, and sometimes we want it because of the culture, because of the people, because of the project or the tasks and our approach. And as well, what we did interview process with like all the respect. It was fast, it was smooth, it was clear, etc. Sometimes there's no really fancy solutions to attract great people. You're just professional, you just respect, you communicate clearly. Like it's very easy, but apparently not everybody does it. How many times you were being ghosted by employers during the interview? Probably many times. This is creating a very bad impressions. And we want candidates sometimes because of the great engineers, because we were just respectful, kind, professional, clear, fast. Fast is very important as well, because a lot of companies take a lot of time to make a hiring decision. And when you're a smaller business, you can move faster. You don't have the bureaucracy level with thousands of approvals. I remember when one of my conferences I used to work in, it took like 3 weeks to approve a job offer after the final interview because it went to the president of the company. I was like, why do we need the president to approve the offer for the like mid-level engineer? I don't get it.
What are other things that founders could do to increase the motivation, the engagement? You also mentioned before the call gamified learnings. Maybe you can explore that as well.
First thing, is it a hired employee or is it another business owner? Because it's like two different types of motivation.
No, freelancer and employees.
Yeah, for example, first of all, it's a clear vision, clear tasks, clear goals, and some hygienic things like, okay, good hours, respect, a salary on time, etc. That's it. Plus teamwork, right? If you have a team of at least 5 people, it's very important to keep the good culture, connect and learn about each other. Who are those people you're working with, to not feel isolated or disconnected? Because when people are isolated and disconnected, I was recently on one webinar from Gartner, and 21% of people actually feel completely isolated at the workplace. And engaged people, they deliver 200% more than disengaged people. It's a huge difference. And how to solve it? Like, first, it's coming from the bigger thing, like culture, what kind of people you're working with, etc. But also there are like the little solutions. For example, create a like maybe Friday meeting or something where you can share some stories about each other, where you learn about each other. Because in the end, the product is not done by AI or any other fancy tool. It's done by people. When COVID hit, we started working remotely. We had team in 8 countries, and all our culture was about the office activity. We were all the time creating super fun stuff in office, but there's no office anymore, and everybody started moving out to create remote first policy, etc., etc. And we had a big challenge how to engage those people in a meaningful way, not in a stupid call where nobody understands what are they doing there or playing a game that nobody get it. And we created our own game, a quiz based on our company and our internal stories and memes that our people understand. And it was so much fun because when you ask the question, who's always in pink shorts, people understand, oh yeah, we know this guy. It doesn't matter. It's the 5 degrees outside or 25, he's always in shorts. And to make it fun, we added some like betting elements. So every month we start playing a game and the winner will be creating a next game. And this is how our current business actually appeared. It was internal tool to solve the problem of disengagement. And people loved it. And the best thing, because we had a budget from the office activities that we don't spend anymore. So we started creating meaningful gifts that are useful for people in the remote setup, like a cool chair, because chair is very important, like a gift card for the like local store that they like, things that they need for the work and would be nice. And it's not pretty huge budget at all. On a monthly basis, we run a quiz game. And our innovation was that we wanted to be different. It's not like a Google form, because we could run a quiz in Google Forms technically, but we wanted to make it super cool. So we created engaging mechanics through bets. How it works: before each question, we show the context of the question. People made bet how likely they answer correctly. So in the beginning of the game, every person had 2 points that they could bet. And more they bet, more they gain. If you bet less, you gain less. But if you answer incorrectly, you lose your bet. And people were screaming sometimes, no, I knew the answer. I remember that we had a game where our CEO, he loved hockey. We knew that. He's a fan of hockey. He knows all about the players, about the games, the records. And he answered all the questions incorrectly. And the last one, by the context, he understood the question would be about hockey. So he went all in with this like real number. And in the end of the game, people went all in. There was a question about how many teeth this particular player lost. But this is a very specific knowledge that either you guess or you know it. So he knew that. So he won the game. And it was very fun. Like, it created another story that we can share. We can have fun. People like start communicating. Also, they love to learn about each other. Our favorite game was when we posted pictures of people in their childhood. So guess who's this? And it also created, where you grew up. So it, like, create another layer of connection. And So you get learn about another person you work every day with. So it's not only engineer, it's actually a human being who grew up in this city and maybe you have something in common.
In this game, is it also with a video camera conversation, or is it just filling out?
So it's a web service we created, and you can play it over Zoom. You just share a QR code, a link. Of course, back then it was like very thin wireframe, very like basic solution because it was an internal tool. But then in 2023, with the rise of AI, we thought, oh, actually we can scale it and not do only for internal purposes. And the co-founder is actually he's our head of backend with who we started that, and he was like, okay, let's do that. And now we offer people that they can create a game about anything in 1 minute about your company. You just upload materials about your company or website, and in 1 minute you get a game and you engage people. So you don't need to spend time because most of the games take a lot of time. But this is very fun activity, 10 to 15 minutes can run. We have companies like 20 people that are in different European company. Actually, it's a German one, but they play in English. But we also support 6 other languages, and their operations director say now people are thinking how they can trick the system because of the bets, because the winner is not the fastest person, because it's not really inclusive towards people with dyslexia and so. But in our cases, the winner is the person with the highest amount of points. So you have to be a bit more strategic in the sense of like how you bet. And I was like, wow, this is cool. Actually, I like to read their feedback and how people people enjoy it and sometimes even scream when they lose. Nobody like to lose.
Yeah, I really like this idea because it's such a unique idea, and we call our team members only if there is some problems or only if there is some task. So it's kind of a little bit negative, but here suddenly you are interacting with a positive environment, with a positive goal, without any goal to do something. That's very connect.
Yeah. Actually, it's even in life, we're same way. Try to like text people that you know without ask, without the need. So it's actually like just ask. That's fun. Let's go to do some workout or walk or hike, etc. Not only well when you need something from them, and like building a genuine connection. And when we created it, we were like, wow. First, we created it as a team building solution, but then we were thinking, oh, maybe actually it would be also work for learning purposes because. I know if you work in a corporate environment before, but most of the corporate trainings are super boring.
Yes.
They're super
I can
boring.
imagine that.
But you have to do that because it's mandatory. It's a like professional setup, right? You do that or you don't work. But to ensure that people actually learn anything, that you can either run a test or you can play a game and create a friendly competition among the employees, and then they play, they have fun, but also learn and like reinforce what they actually learned. And we call it friendly competition because when you compete with others, it's making it more exciting. And especially if you have a prize to win, it completely changed the game. So now companies play it for onboarding, for training purposes. I see quizzes created for like language courses, like English grammar. I see some people create questions about history, geography, like general knowledge. And like some people are very creative.
That's amazing. Finally, someone gives those psychological know-hows about how to motivate people. And you are giving it for a positive thing, not like the social media, the gaming industry and betting industry, but you use their tools to make it.
It's still exciting as gambling, but you're not losing your money, right?
Yes.
But you get some knowledge, actually. Yeah. So we use AI for good and for fun.
You get addicted to learning. You learn everything.
Yeah. So this is our goal. Like, and people actually sometimes, I want more. Let's do that. We play sometime for like during Christmas holidays with the family, and they're like, I want more, because people love to win.
Thank you so much, Elena. It was such a pleasure. So many interesting new angles and new advice. Would you like the audience to do something to connect with you?
Absolutely. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy, and try Quizly. It's completely free for small organizations. As I believe as your audience is a small organization, up to 10 people, we provide it completely free. So you can try it in action and enjoy and create your quizzes and have fun in a remote setup.
Amazing. We will add all the links in the description.